Hello everyone, welcome back to Edgington, the city on the edge here in Timberstone 1.52, which we've been in for like over a year at this point. I did the math for like the last episode and whoa, I had known these people for a while. I've been playing this game for a long while. I've been playing this particular version of it since like episode 46, 47. Just blimey. And we're now of course at like mid-160s. But anyways, somebody did point out that I did not tell Paper to have a torch. I have gone through everybody and made sure everybody is carrying a torch now, so yay, the rule is maintained. And we actually managed to break, just straight wreck these dummies. And even, like, I put Cameron on, like, practice over here, and even these managed to get wrecked as well. It's pretty amazing. But we do, in fact, have an engineer, so they're wandering around making sure things work. Go along, Mary. Yeah. Hell. So I'm recording this the Sunday night before you see it, which is not great for me. Not great, but I'm trying very hard to not get stressed out so much, because that seems to be the thing that most commonly makes me accomplish nothing. Because I get stressed out that I'm not managing to get something done, and then that just results in basically paralysis, and I don't get anything done. So, but yeah, I'm working. I'm making sure I get stuff done, and I'm trying to make sure I don't stress out about it if it doesn't get done. And that's the hard part. Are we hurting this? No, well, we are. We're just not doing it right now. Okay. We have Rosender currently making up a bunch of stuff. Yeah, made a whole ton of rope, which doesn't take very long for Rosender of all people to make. And we're currently working on some more tunics, because we're going to need them. And how are we actually for raw resources to make other things? We don't have any iron on us currently to make steel, but we'll be working on steel, hopefully. We can make a bunch more bronze. I don't foresee a need to make more food barrels, which means we don't have a reason to have raw copper just hanging around. So yay! And we need iron, of course, to craft ourselves some more steel. How are we doing on the digging? Digging is going smoothly. Wow. Our mighty diggers. So, topic of conversation this time around is I watched a video fairly recently which talked about the character of Newt Scamander, who is the protagonist of Magical Beasts and Fantastical Beasts and Where to Find Them, which is a fairly recent Harry Potter film and book. And it covered a bunch of things. Like, I had a very interesting hypothesis that Newt displays various autistic traits, which is fascinating to discover because I haven't seen that movie. But chiefly, it also discussed Newt in terms of a gentle masculinity, in that he portrayed characteristics that were more in common with what we tend to expect of female characters in movies, as opposed to the masculine types, which is interesting because there are also masculine characters in that movie who portray these masculine types, who are usually quick to violence, who are slow to emotion unless it's rage, or lust, that kind of thing. Newt doesn't show these characteristics. Newt goes more or less the opposite direction. Newt is diplomatic, he is nurturing, he, like, at the end of the movie where the evil is defeated or whatever, the trouble isn't, like, it's a melancholic moment. It's not a triumphant victory, and the reason for that is because Newt didn't get to save it. But that got me thinking, and I kind of realized that there is... how do I put this? Okay. Society has, like, human civilization has a list of traits, a set that people who identify as male are supposed to exhibit or not exhibit explicitly, and people who do not follow that particular set structure are usually mistreated or considered lesser or various other things, and that's a whole whole other subject, which is full of a tremendous amount of spec, but that's a different topic. And then we have a similar thing for feminine things, which are for women, because society and civilization likes to work on binaries for some reason. I don't know why. It's kind of dumb. It's kind of dumb, but eh. And the list of traits that the article pointed out as being masculine, I found interesting because they matched what I understand sort of Hollywood's vision of the masculine type, the macho type, that kind of thing. But it didn't match my idea of what masculine traits are. So, for example, most of the traits that they said were less masculine in Newt, I consider to be fairly masculine. Just to put this in very broad terms, and I'm going to be going into binaries here, which is not great, I know. There's no way to talk about this without, in some way, to some degree, putting people into gender roles, and that's not a good thing, but that's why we're talking about traits, because there's also people who identify as a gender which they were not identified as at birth, which consequently means they try to exhibit alternative traits than what they're born with, which means they need a trait, like a list of traits to go by. And other people just don't care. Just straight don't care. They act how they act, and that's good. That's fine by me. And if people want to act by a set of traits, then sure. So that's how to present as a gender, if you will. Behaviorally in this case. And that's a whole sticky subject, and again, that's not the topic for today. But my topic today is what do I personally define as being masculine traits? What do you define as being masculine traits? The standard list is they must be strong, they must be aggressive, they must be various other things, they must be successful, they must be intelligent, all sorts. They must be all these positive traits that women are typically denied because bleh. But I, the traits that I, as a guy, would like to say make me feel, for want of better wording, like a man. There's the strong thing I understand, but I don't think it starts and ends with physical actions. I don't think it starts and ends with violence. I don't think it starts and ends with being mechanically apt. I know how a car engine works, and I might have a slight inkling of how to fix it in certain cases, but that's mostly via osmosis from my petrolhead dad. I tend to think that the masculine trait that follows along those lines is actually being able to take care of people, being able to resolve problems. And again, that's not to say that women cannot exhibit these traits. Again, I'm just listing traits that I think are traits that I'm going to keep running over this, so I'm just going to drop that angle. Just know that I'm not saying other genders, other people can't have these traits or whatever, because that would be dumb. Anyways, so yeah, I foresee that I see that as a trait in which it's not the act of physical force or labor or such that is the manly part, it's the resolving the problem. It's taking care of someone by doing so. Problem solving is a thing I like, and in general, and I typically consider... I'm not going to say I feel emasculated, but I feel lacking in purpose when somebody has a problem and I can't do anything to help them, resolve it. And that goes down to, okay, are you hungry? Let's get food. Do you need some money to, go buy medicines or something? Okay, here's a few extra quid I have lying around spare. Are you feeling sad? Let's try and cheer you up together, that kind of thing. Has your chair collapsed beneath you? Okay, I will get a screwdriver and some nails, that kind of thing. And I say screwdriver and nails because this has a screwdriver but is not in fact a hammer, and the bottom end of it would seem to say otherwise. This is my handy penknife I've had for, jeez, over a decade. Most handy thing I've ever owned, by far. So yeah, I feel like looking after people, especially via problem resolution, is definitely a thing I would consider to be a masculine kind of characteristic, personally. And on top of that, you can expand that to also taking care of offspring. You can expand that to parenting, to making sure that your children are clothed, housed, warm, fed, watered, and get a good education and are doing well in their education. That does not mean that you should punish them, although occasionally punishment's necessary, I have to admit that much, but I don't think it needs to get physical. I don't think it necessarily ever needs to get to a point of depriving them of things. I do recall distinctly that my father once threatened to take away my access to the internet, and I actually laughed in his face. Because firstly, good luck. Secondly, no. So that's a thing. Like, it's up in the air as to whether I'd make a good parent. I would like to think I'd make a pretty good dad, but I don't have the opportunity to determine if that will be the case just yet. Who knows? Someday in the distant future. I suppose in a few ways, I'm the parental figure to a lot of my community, which I guess means I don't know. But yeah. So the dad section for me says mostly take care of someone, which means that the nurturing trait that is described in Newt's Commander is, to me, still quite masculine. But I suppose there's like a different set of problems that could be solved by the mother figure than the father figure. I tend to like... This is more in line, I guess, with society's view of how feminine characteristics are laid out, that my brain tends to think that the mother looks after children in a more psychological, emotional kind of way than the father, who is more physical. So it's, again, making sure they're clothed and fed and whatnot. Ideally, both of them are looking for them to have good educations and to be happy, but, you know, division of labor. If you're going to have two parents, why not? Why not have three? Divide it even further. Or more, who knows? But anyway, I digress. As I am wont to do. Because we all know that I ramble a lot. Especially in this series. That's why we're in the 160s. It's just me rambling on one very incredibly unbroken sentence, moving from topic to topic. Do we have nothing to harvest? Okay, well, I know there was a... Yeah, there's a boar here. Do not herd. In fact, I can't tell you to murder it, but hang on. Or are you going to do so? Hunt boar. Okay, it must have just been set for herding for some reason. How very strange. Well, Trunks, you'd better get to work, shouldn't you? Level 1. And nothing on the borders. Near as I can tell, I don't see any spiders creeping in. So it's a fairly quiet morning. That's fine by me. I am okay with this. You know? No fishing pole. Oh, we lost a fishing pole somehow. Let's see, tools. Fishing pole. Ah, easy. Add 5. Make 5 of those. Let's remove that from the queue, because apparently we can't right now do that, which is weird, because we had all the materials necessary. Oh, we are down to 2 stone hammers, though, that has to be said. Let's add 5 bronze. Hopefully, that shall last us quite a while. And actually, we don't have very many. Ooh, okay, let's add 5 bronze picks as well. We should never, under any circumstances, make a steel pick, however, because that will mean they'll start picking up the platinum and the silver and the gold, and we don't want that because it'll just skyrocket our wealth, and that'll get us attacked even more frequently, which would be bad. I mean, I want to say we could take it, but I'd rather not find out. Hell, do we have... Yes, and what are you set to, Clifton? You are set to combat training. Okay, so get in here then. You gonna open fire? Or do I have to make you move further back? No? There you go. Not quite sure why you said specifically there, but... And meanwhile, where is Paper? There's Penguin. Paper. Willow. Why is one of our... Why are you going over... Are you going to where I think you're going? There's a tiny, like, little pool of water way over here. Yeah, right here. Is that where you're headed? I've lost you. Where are you? There you are. Where are you going, Wolfram? Yes, you are going all of the way over to here to fish. No. No. Get over here. Said Scorpion in Mortal Kombat. There. Go there. Fish from there, please. Don't mind half a mile away from the nearest food storage. Jeez. Or farm, fish. How I mine for fish. Anyways, we're looking for Paper. Where's Paper gone? I don't see you over here. Oh, that's not done. Yay. Come on, Clifton, you were working before. There. 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 There? What on earth is up with you, lad? Weird. Well, just stand there until you get tired, I guess. I don't know. Let me see. What are other traits that I generally tend to associate with masculine figures? Besides the obvious. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Let me see. Once again, not to suggest that, but yeah, I'm just gonna give up with trying to guard my wording here, because it's hard to discuss a subject like this that's not going to potentially, out of context, sound like I'm saying the alternative can't happen. Or an alternative can't happen. Other gender identities are available. Where is Paper? There's Paper. Okay, what are you doing there? Combat training. Come on. Chop chop. All the way over here. There. Get good. Plus. And set that to rebuild, because it wasn't for some reason, so we only had the one. Weird. Let me see. There's the old trope of being able to provide for your family, I guess, but I generally tend to think of that as being, like, I tend to think that that's kind of just a general quality necessary in a parent. Also, it has a really weird implication for, like, utilitarianism as parents, and that's... I don't think that's necessarily nice. I don't think that's a good idea, personally. Like, it's nice if a parent is affluent enough to be able to, like, buy their kids the latest toy. It's not bad if they can't, especially if it's for reasons beyond their control. I guess almost everything I can think of as a masculine trait ultimately breaks down to taking care of people by solving problems. Maybe that's just, like, how I grew up. Maybe that's a reflection of how I like learned at the knee of my dad, I guess. Because my dad is very, like, practically minded. My dad is very much a problem solver. He's very much getting his hands dirty and such. Although some tasks he certainly spent a lot more time getting done than others. I think he did more work on his classic muscle car in the span of my life than he ever did on the actual house, which was interesting because when it was acquired, the house basically had walls. The house was in pieces, pretty much, when he got that, and I'm pretty sure he spent more time on his car than the house, which might have contributed to the ultimate divorce, I guess, but either way. I think my dad was more comedic growing up than my mum was. I don't know if I would say that comedy, or like such, is an inherently masculine trait. I want to say stubbornness is a masculine trait, because that seems to be certainly true of a lot of guys, myself included. I might just be thinking dominantly of my own family in that regard, though. Hello, Clever. You're standing out here because you came out for food, I'm guessing. Can you stand here and do some work? You took like 3 shots at this thing and then gave up. What I'm curious is why? I think it's worth removing some of these interior partitions. It might be disrupting their view? I'm not really sure what's going on. Curious indeed, but we don't want to have an archer range on the premises in the event that somebody gets shot. Ellie's bronze hammer is broken. We just made that. Oh. Actually, did we get the bronze picks? Do we have we have a surplus of bronze picks? Good. This is a good thing. Whilst we just got the hammers, let's add another 10 to there, shall we? We had 5 bronze hammers, and yet somehow we don't have any to hand? I know we didn't, like, fail at those. I guess we do have a number of builders and a number of other people. Like, a couple of other people that use hammers, so that might just be it. Anyways, let me know in the comments, what do you think is here's the set of masculine traits. Like, what do you think is the is the defining factor of being a man, or manly, that isn't just what Hollywood and what popular media have taught us kind of thing, I guess. Would you describe Newt Scamander as being manly? I certainly would. Anyways, with that in mind, I shall catch you all, as always, next time.